Now we're going to discuss adding and subtracting rational expressions. And weirdly enough, adding and subtracting is actually harder than multiplying and dividing. Well, more challenging. More complex. That's the word I'm going to go with. It's more complex. We're going to have a warm-up first. We're definitely going to have a warm-up. And the warm-up is going to be, do we know how to add fractions? So 3 over 11 plus 5 over 11. So unlike multiplying, where we multiply and we multiplied, that's not what we do here. What we do is we say 3 plus 3 of 11, if we have 3 11ths plus 5 11ths, that's like 3 plus 5 all over, and we only write that once, right? So 3 of those, 5 of those is 3 plus 5 of those, which is 8 over 11. Let's say we have 3/5 plus 7 over 10ths. Now what we have here, though, is that we can't just, they're not the same denominator, so we have to find a common denominator. And so the common denominator in this case would be 10. So that one's going to be fine. We're going to multiply this. Essentially what we do is we multiply it by something over something. So we're going to multiply this side 1 by 1 over 1. We're going to multiply this one by 2 over 2. 3 times 2 is 6, I should put a line there. 3 times 2 is 6 over 10, plus 7 times 1 is 7 over 10. And 6 over 10 plus 7 over 10 is 6 plus 7 over 10, which is 13 over 10. And this is an improper fraction, but you could keep it like that. We're not going to be turning into mixed fractions because mixed fractions are kind of useless. C. 4 over 5 plus 11 over 7. Now, if you're not quite sure how to find the common denominator, there's kind of a workaround. You can't find this won't give you the lowest common denominator, but it will give you a common denominator. And what it is you just multiply it by the other one. So that's 5. We're going to multiply this by 5 over 5, and we're going to multiply this one by 7 over 7. Probably shouldn't have used x, but there we go. So that's going to give us 28, and because that's 5 times 7, and that's 5 times 7, so no matter what it is, it's going to be the same. Turns out to be 35, plus 55 over 35, which is 28 plus 55 over 35, I think is 73. Nope, 63. I was wrong. Which is 63 over 35. So 4/5 plus 11 over 7 is 63 over 35. D. Three fourths plus 7/6. So if I do my kind of workaround that I said before, I might decide to multiply this by 4 over 4 and multiply this one by 6 over 6. So that's going to give me 18 over 24 plus 7 times 4 is 28 over 24, which is, let's just calculate it just to be sure, which is 46 over 24. But we're not quite done because we could actually reduce this. We could divide the top and the bottom by 2, and that's going to be, we divide the top and the bottom by 2. When you reduce it, kind of the opposite of this thing. This is kind of unreducing, and now we are reducing. And that's going to give us 23 over 12, and that would be the answer. Now what we could have done instead, so we're going to do D again. So 24 was a common denominator, but the best common denominator, or the lowest common denominator, would have been actually 12. So it would have been if we did 2 over 2 and 3 over 3. And that would have given us instead 9 over 12 plus 14 over 12, which is 23 over 12, and then we have our answer. I'm going to do d in yet one more way, though. I'm going to do d in one more way. So d, take 3. So 3 over 4 plus 7 over 6. And I want to point out that this is like saying 3 over 2 times 2 plus 7 over 3 times 2. And if we want to make these the same, they already have a 2 on the bottom. So here we have a 2 and a 2. We just have to get another 3. So we just have to multiply by the thing that's missing. And then what we get on the bottom is we get 3 times 3 is 9 over the 2 times 2 times 3 plus 14 over the 3 times 2 times 2, which, even though I wrote in a different order, is the same thing. And we're going to see in a later example why I decided to write it in this convoluted way. But just to recognize that then that would be equal to 23 over 2 times 2 times 3, which is the same thing as 23 over 12. Okay. E. 5 over 6 plus 4 over 7 plus 2 over 9. Not much to do here, so we're going to multiply. We have to find the least common multiple, so we're going to have to multiply. And this is kind of like a, so this is 6, we have a 9. I'm just going to multiply by all of them. So we're going to multiply this by 6 and by 7 over 6 and 7. And we're going to multiply it by 6 and 9 over 6 and 9. And we're going to be multiplying it by, we need a 7 and 9 here. 7 and 9 over 7 and 9. This is getting pretty hideously messy, but so we end up with 5 times 7 times 9 over 6 times 7 times 9 plus 4 times 6 times 9 over 7 times 6 times 9 plus 2 times 6 times 7 over 9 times 6 times 7. And if you look, the bottom, they're all the same. 6, 7, 9, 6, 7, 9, 6, 7, 9. So we're going to do it all together. So it's all going to be over 6 times 7 times 9. And then we can actually plug it in. So we get 5 times 7 times 9 is 315 plus 4 times 6 times 9 is 216. And that's 84, I think. 2 times 6 times 7. Ooh. And putting that all together, we get 315 plus 216 plus 84 is 615 over 6 times 7 times 9. And this could actually definitely be reduced because this is divisible by 3, because those add up to 3, and that's divisible by 3. So we could do more with it, but I'm going to stop there. This is just a warm-up. We don't have to get to a wonderful answer, and this is not what we're actually trying to learn. F. 4 over 7 minus 11 over 3. There's a negative. What do we do? What do we do? We do the same thing. So multiply by 3 over 3, multiply by 7 over 7, and we get 12 over 21 minus 77 over 21, which is 12 minus 77 over 21, which is negative 65. Negative 65 over 21. And there we go. That wasn't that hard. Before we do the next one, let's do a mini question. How do you do 10 minus 2 plus 5? you don't do it all at once. So what you do is you go 10 minus 2 first, which is 8. And then you go 8 plus 5 is 13. Note that if you did something foolish like doing 2 plus 5, which is 3, this would be, of course, horrifically wrong. But this is the way we're going to do it. Technically, you could go minus 2 plus 5 is 3, and then 10 plus 3 is 13. That would also work. So the last of the warm-ups, we are on G. 2/5 minus 3/2 plus 5/6. And the common denominator here is 30. I could tell that. So I'm going to multiply it by 5 over 5, 15 over 15, and 6 over 6. There's probably some figuring out to do with that, but that's not the point of what I'm trying to show here. So I recognize I zip through that a little. 12 over 30 minus 45 over 30 plus 25 over 30. So how do we do this? Well, first we subtract those two. So 12 minus 45 is negative 33. So this becomes negative 33 over 30 plus 25 over 30. Then we're going to add those guys. Minus 33 plus 25 is negative 8 over 30, which is minus 4 over 15. And there we go. That's fractions.